Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going on a deep dive into the life of Theodore Roosevelt.
A fascinating life.
It is. And we have with us, of course, Edmund Morris's Pulitzer Prize-winning biography.
The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt?
The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt.
An amazing book.
And it's a big one, too. So
yeah, it's a hefty book.
You've given us quite a bit of reading to do.
It is.
And we're going to be focusing on unearthing some of the most fascinating, surprising insights about TR's journey from his childhood up to his rise in politics.
Yeah, it's really remarkable how Morris sort of reveals the depth of character and all of the experiences that really shaped this iconic figure.
Right, and you think TR.
You do.
You know, Rough Rider, big stick diplomacy.
Right.
But his early life is full of surprises.
A lot of people don't know about that.
And Morris paints a picture of young Teddy as this frail child battling asthma.
Among other ailments.
Yeah, and you would never imagine that he would become such a force of nature.
It's almost ironic, isn't it?
It is.
This future symbol of American vigor spent his early years mostly indoors.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really interesting. Because instead of becoming withdrawn, this confinement really fueled his intellectual curiosity.
Yes.
It fostered this deep love of reading and an almost obsessive fascination with the natural world.
That's right.
He even kept a dead black cock in his room as a specimen.
Right.
Not your typical childhood hobby?
No, that detail really sticks with you.
It does.
And it speaks to this kind of duality of Roosevelt's character, even as a young boy.
Right.
It wasn't just like a passing interest in nature. He was meticulous about documenting his specimens, exhibiting an early scientific rigor that sort of foreshadows his later work as a naturalist, right?
Yeah.
His profound respect for the environment.
You can see that same drive in his reaction to his family's grand European tour.
Oh, yeah.
While his siblings are off doing typical tourist things.
Right.
Theodore was pursuing his passion for natural history.
This wasn't just a kid on vacation. This is, a budding naturalist on a mission to understand the world around him.
Yeah.
It shows how even then he was driven by this thirst for knowledge that went beyond just the ordinary,
And this drive is even more remarkable when you consider what happened next.
Yes.
His beloved father died suddenly.
Yeah.
And the diary entry from that time.
Oh, my goodness.
Reveals this raw grief.
Yeah.
And the weight of responsibility suddenly thrust upon his young shoulders.
That loss was undoubtedly a turning point for him, right? It forced him to mature very quickly, to grapple with very complex emotions, all while stepping into this leadership role within his family.
And yet, amidst this grief, he excelled at Harvard.
He did, yeah.
He didn't retreat from life.
No.
Instead, he throws himself into his studies, seemingly adhering to his father's advice about morals, health, and academics.
It's as if he channeled that grief into achieving these ideals that his father had instilled in him.
Right.
He sought to honor his father's memory by living a life of purpose and meaning. And it's fascinating how those themes from his childhood keep recurring. The drive, the intellectual curiosity, even this attraction to physical challenges. It's all there in his whirlwind romance and those devastating losses that led him to seek solace in the Dakotas.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that behind this larger-than-life persona, there's this young man deeply in love.
Right.
His courtship with Alice Lee was...
fast-paced.
Yeah, fast-paced.
Passionate.
And he even sent for dueling pistols.
I know.
During their engagement.
That detail really reveals his intensity. But it also reminds us that even these larger-than-life figures experience the anxieties and the vulnerabilities of young love.
Yeah. And then, just as quickly as happiness arrived, it was shattered.
Oh, yeah.
To lose both his mother and his wife within the same day.
It's unimaginable.
That level of grief is just unimaginable.
Yeah, and it's really a testament to his resilience that he didn't succumb to despair.
Right.
Instead, he sought refuge and this renewal in the rugged beauty of the American West.
It wasn't just an escape.
Right.
It was a conscious choice to confront hardship, forge a new path.
It really was.
His time in the Dakotas wasn't just about healing, though, was it?
No.
He was actively seeking out the challenges of this frontier life.
Yeah, writing, hunting, ranching.
Yeah.
It was almost like he needed to test himself against this harsh realities of the West.
Right. And you can see how that experience really shapes his political outlook.
You can, absolutely.
When he returns to New York and enters politics, he brings this outsider perspective, this willingness to challenge the establishment.
He wasn't afraid to take on those political machines.
Right.
Even those within his own social class.
Yeah. His battles against corruption weren't just about good governance.
Right.
They were fueled by this deep sense of justice and a firsthand understanding of the consequences of unchecked power.
Absolutely.
He'd seen how regular people were hurt by corruption.
He was determined to fight for a more equitable society.
And it wasn't just idealism, though. He was a savvy political operator.
Oh, yeah.
He built alliances, won over skeptics.
He knew how to navigate those complexities of the political landscape.
Yeah. He was a master of persuasion, able to articulate his vision and rally people to his cause.
Yeah, he understood that reform required more than just righteous anger. It required strategy, collaboration, and the ability to connect with people from all walks of life.
Take his time as police commissioner of New York City.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example.
It was a role tailor-made for his energy and this reformist zeal.
Right.
He tackled corruption head-on.
He did.
Professionalized the police force. And even famously patrolled the streets himself.
I know, I love that.
To observe police practices firsthand.
That hands-on approach was so typical of TR, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't content to sit behind a desk. He wanted to be in the thick of things.
Right.
Understanding the challenges on the ground. He wasn't afraid to ruffle feathers or to challenge that status quo in pursuit of his goals.
He certainly wasn't universally loved.
No.
His methods were sometimes seen as heavy-handed, even dictatorial.
He was a forceful personality, no doubt.
Yeah.
And his unwavering commitment to his own vision could lead to clashes.
Right.
But even his critics couldn't deny the positive impact he had on the city.
Right.
He championed the rights of the marginalized. He cracked down on vice.
And made the city safer for all its residents.
His time as police commissioner was more than just a stepping stone to higher office.
I agree.
It was a crucible where his leadership style was forged, his political philosophy refined.
Right. He learned to navigate the complexities of urban politics, to build consensus, to manage this large and diverse workforce, and to withstand that intense public scrutiny.
Right.
These experiences would prove invaluable as he moved on to the national stage.
And speaking of the national stage, that's where his lifelong fascination with naval history and his fervent belief in American power converge. As Assistant Secretary of the Navy, she was already pushing for naval expansion before war with Spain even broke out. He saw the Navy as this key instrument of American power, essential for protecting its interests, promoting its values on a global scale. And he wasn't shy about challenging traditional thinking within the department, advocating for modernization and a more assertive posture.
Yeah, it's like he had this sense that America was on the cusp of becoming a global power.
Yeah.
And he saw the Navy as a vital tool.
Absolutely.
In that process, not just for defense.
Right.
But for projecting American influence.
He recognized the strategic importance of a strong Navy in a way that many of his contemporaries just didn't, It wasn't just about ships and guns. It was about projecting power, protecting trade routes, securing America's place on the world stage.
Right. He was a visionary in that sense.
He was.
And that's where his relationship with Commodore George Dewey comes in.
Yes.
They shared this belief in the power of the Navy. And it seems like TR saw Dewey as the man who could execute this vision.
Right.
Someone who wasn't afraid of bold action.
Their partnership was truly pivotal.
Yeah.
Dewey's decisive victory at Manila Bay against the Spanish fleet not only made him a national hero, but it also validated TR's strategic thinking.
Yeah, it was like everything he had been advocating for suddenly came into focus.
It all came together.
Manila Bay was more than just a victory. It was a turning point in American foreign policy.
Yes.
It showed that America could project power across oceans and compete
across the world
with these established world powers.
It's interesting to consider how this event might resonate with listeners today. We're living in a time where America's role in the world is being debated, redefined.
Right.
TR's belief in a strong Navy and a more assertive foreign policy certainly has parallels to current discussions about global engagement and military spending.
But back in Washington, not everyone shared TR's enthusiasm.
Right.
His relationship with Secretary of the Navy, John Long, was often strained.
Long was much more cautious.
Yeah.
And TR, as always, was eager for action.
Right. You have that classic clash between the bureaucrat and the visionary.
Long was focused on process and protocol.
Right.
While TR was always looking for ways to push the boundaries, to make things happen.
But even Long couldn't deny that TR got results.
He did.
He was a master at navigating the bureaucratic maze.
Yes.
Finding ways to get things done. Even if it meant bending the rules or ruffling a few feathers.
He had a knack for identifying and seizing opportunities. He wasn't afraid to take risks, challenge the status quo, and that made him both effective and at times controversial.
And this is also the time when he forms a close bond with Army Captain Leonard Wood.
Another kindred spirit.
Yeah, another man who shares his passion for adventure and his belief in American strength.
Their long walks and talks about Cuba, their shared ambition, it was almost like they were preparing themselves for the conflict to come.
Yeah, they were kindred spirits drawn together by their shared ideals and this desire to make a mark on history.
Their friendship and collaboration would have a lasting impact on both of their lives and on the course of American history.
And when war with Spain finally breaks out, TR doesn't hesitate.
He doesn't.
He resigns his position and volunteers to lead the Rough Riders in Cuba.
It's a move that surprised many.
Yeah.
But it was completely in character.
Right. He wasn't content to observe from a distance.
He had to be in the thick of the action, leading from the front.
And the charge up San Juan Hill really cemented his image as a fearless leader, a national hero. It was a culmination of years of preparation, ambition, and this relentless pursuit of a life lived to the fullest.
It's an incredible story.
It is.
And it's really just the beginning of TR's journey. We've only scratched the surface here of his life and legacy. But this deep dive has hopefully given you a taste of the forces that shaped this remarkable man.
From a sickly child to a fearless Rough Rider, reformer, and ultimately president. Theodore Roosevelt's life is a testament to the power of resilience, ambition, and the unwavering pursuit of one's ideals.
And Edmund Morris's The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt is truly a must-read.
It is.
For anyone who wants to understand the complexities and contradictions of this fascinating figure. It's a biography that will stay with you long after you finish the last page, and it's sure to spark further exploration of TR's impact on American history.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
Into the early life of Theodore Roosevelt.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
And are as intrigued by TR's journey.
I'm sure they are.
As we are. And if you want to uncover even more about this remarkable man.
Yeah, if you really want to dive deep.
We highly recommend picking up.
Pick up that book.
The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. You won't be disappointed.